Good evening, friends. Here we are. Good evening. I'm honored tonight to have as our guest, not even a guest, my better half, Reason for Life, Mrs. L, who joins us right now. First, may I ask if we are coming through loud and clear? We are sharing this particular microphone. We have a de minimis audio set up, so if you are hearing this, and if this is coming clear, please give us the 5x5 signal. And darling, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me on. Watching something, I don't know when, in the middle of the night last night, where there's a big peach shortage in Georgia. There's something going on there, so that warrants some research. But I was very disappointed because usually by now in Jersey, you start seeing all of the tons of blueberries and corn and peaches.
All righty. Thank you so much. We are back.
I mean, my beautiful speech about the produce, nobody heard?
Let's start from the beginning. I have no idea where we are.
Oh, my goodness.
You know how this thing is.
So we went to two different farms today after a wonderful lunch with a very dear friend. And I found it for July, the beginning of July, very, very sparse, produce-wise. Usually you see loads of corn, loads of blueberries in Jersey, loads of peaches. I saw very little of all of that. I saw a couple of small little peaches. It almost looked like they were made in a hothouse or something. And I was watching something, I don't know what it was, in the middle of last night about the state of Georgia. There is a shortage this year of peaches. And so
Georgia
peaches, yes. And so I, of course, was going around looking at the produce to see labels now, because I'm looking for that label. You know, I talk to a lot of farmers now across the United States. And that, what is it called, a peel?
Mm-hmm.
That coating that they're putting on cucumbers, all kinds of vegetables, all kinds of apples, fruits, to make it last longer. Yet this is an insect repellent, but they want us to eat it. So I'm like always on the lookout now for that appeal label, or also if it's made in Mexico. We don't want to get fooled. We're going to Jersey farms.
That's right.
And I don't want my fruit or vegetable coming from Mexico. We need to support American farmers. We need to shop American farmers. We need to give them every penny we have if we're going to go to farms. Let's keep it in America.
Let's talk about a couple of things. Let's bring people up to speed here. You are the owner, the operator, the founder, the CEO of Lynn's Warriors.
I certainly am.
What inspired you to do this? What was your calling?
Well, I don't want to bore your audience with
you can't
with any of this. To make this a short, simple story, everybody. I woke up one day at the beginning of COVID. I had been working with a client prior to this, helping her write a book about domestic violence, doing all the research. It intersected with human trafficking, sexual exploitation. And in doing this research a couple of years back, it was just a few short years ago, it wasn't that long ago, I could not believe what is going on here in the United States. Now, I consider myself fairly smart, fairly knowledgeable. I read a lot. I did not even understand myself. And I'm talking about the United States, because mostly anything I ever heard in showbiz or around New York City was focused on other countries. What's happening to kids and women and some boys and men in Thailand and Philippines, all these other countries, Mexico. This is going on right here in our own communities. And that led me to become sort of this crazed woman where I woke up one day and said to you, I am going to become a warrior, a word I don't use. I don't think I've ever used it in my life until recently. I said, at this point in my life,
Why that word? Why that term?
because you must be a warrior 24/7, 365, nonstop. Even with 4th of July upon us, there are no days you take off. You never let up. You never stop. You just keep going. And I figured at this point in my life, who's going to stop me? I have a lot of knowledge on my shoulders. Who's even doing with what I'm doing my true vision of how to help, intervene and prevent? A lot of people don't even know what I do behind the scenes. I'll just leave it at that. So
Was it
that's
first?
it. That's
was
it.
it first child trafficking, or human trafficking, or child abuse, or child abduction? Tell us the development.
It was. I always say it's a big wheel with a lot of spokes.
No,
All
but
of
saying,
these things-
what did you notice at first?
I'm telling
Okay,
you.
okay.
When I was researching for this book, and the book was about domestic violence, right? We all know somebody, either you, a family member, a friend, we all know it has touched all of our lives in one way or the other. Now, in doing the research, it intersected, there were different stories of human trafficking, because there is domestic violence involved in a lot of these human trafficking relationships, right? Coercion, force, it's all kind of intersecting. That's the word I constantly use. And so I just kept getting stuck on when I came to things about children. And I'm like, certainly people don't do that to kids to this extent. How common is this? How normal is this? And that's when I was reading these stories about parents trafficking, selling their kids, when I was reading about our own complicit government, that may be another program, not getting more involved, not stopping this. Why don't we have legislation directly saying, no, 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 you don't touch our kids. No, no, no. And so it was the kids angle. But that being said, that is the priority. Our future adults, our future leaders. I am working with all people in the United States as far as the trafficking, the exploitation, but we have to, the primary goal right now is getting our kids. We don't want new victims. We don't want I work with a lot of survivors of this. What's the good of that? We're chasing it after all the bad. We have to help those people as well, but we have to get in there and not have these new victims fall prey, because right now, and I tell you this every day, the predators are winning and there's no stopping them.
What's the worst thing you've seen without
I can't.
violating but just in, well, you know what I'm saying, within the confines of YouTube and maybe the subject matter, something that just blows your mind?
The worst thing, I have many people say to me, how do you do this work? Because it's so disturbing. Because I'm able to put a wall up and stay to the right side of the wall to just focus on being a warrior and keep going, with the goal being, if I help one person a day, one child a day, educate one person a day, that is the goal. Not the big picture. I'm not ending human trafficking. I'm not stopping it, right? The worst thing that does stop me in my tracks, and I try not to think about it, is the demand is for 0 to 2 years old with sex trafficking. Now, you don't hear this in the media. You don't really read about this at all. It is 0 to 2 years old.
A newborn.
And what is 0, everybody? It's a newborn. And the thought of a newborn, and I have a million questions. Who are these women having these babies? Where are these babies? Where are these babies coming from? What happens to these babies after they're abused? All of those questions. And that fact, 0 to 2 years old, that comes from many reliable law enforcement sources. And that is the one thing I cannot believe. We know there are farms where women are having these babies specifically for the traffickers. And that is the one thing, followed up by parents, family members who traffic their own kids because they need drug money, they need rent money, they need food money. I don't know. I would scrub a sewer, wash a toilet to feed my kids I don't understand any of that. So those two things are what really gets me. And it's very common. It's much more common, really much more common than anybody ever knows or hears about.
Is one of the biggest problems you have trying to get people to get past their own shock where they say, no, 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 no. This can't be. Let's move on. I don't want to live in a society where fellow humans, I don't want to know this. La, 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 la. How often do you see that?
I see that on a daily basis, and I can't blame people. This is so ugly, so horrific. One can't imagine how normalized, especially, I would say to you, in the last few years, all of this has become. I don't blame people for not wanting to hear about it, not wanting to know about it, but what people have to understand is we all are online pretty much. The internet, our kids, 30 and under, have grown up in this bubble. It's part of their lives. The schools are using it. Everybody's using it. And that is why we have to talk about it. We have to get into the homes, into your minds, into your brains about digital safety.
What does that mean?
Because digital safety means in 2023, all of you have to think about the digital footprint of your child. When I say child, I say 30 and under, but child who's ever living, in your home. But we have to think about it. It's not the kid's fault. It's not our fault. This has been thrown at us. Who knew when they started? I just asked you the other day, what happened to that MySpace? Remember MySpace? It was a cute little thing with your friends, and then that evolved, and all of a sudden it was Facebook, and now it's explosive, as all of you know. And the digital footprint is your child's future as we go into, this gets a little involved, but as we go into AI, we have not done a good enough job with protecting kids and all people on the internet. And now all of a sudden we're going into this big question mark of AI. So you have to be the warrior. You have to take control. You have to understand what's going on, form these family digital partnerships. Nobody's doing it for you. You have to be up on the platforms, what's going on in them, open and honest communication with your kids. I don't care if they're 6 years old, do it age appropriate. I don't care if they're 18, do it appropriately. And you can do it. It's up to us. But we have to, those simple things of, only friends and family should be on accounts. And most people don't. They have a lot of strangers on their accounts. Things like safety features and filters, things like gab.com is the great website, bark.us, to have those safety features and filters. I mean, there's so much great information out there, and people aren't using it. I think that is the most frustrating thing to me. And again, it goes back to, and I don't blame anybody, it's too dark and ugly. But what I want to say, let me just finish this thought. What I want to say is everybody comes to me after the fact. My son received a nude image, from a girl. It turned out to be a 60-year-old guy extorting him for money now. Or a girl, 14 years old, leaves her home. It's always after the fact. We have to get in there and educate before the fact. It can be done because the people we work with, the schools we work with, we are seeing tremendous progress. We are seeing tremendous devotion to this subject matter once people get a grip on it. And I also think there's power in numbers. So if more people form little, family pods and talk about it, or community pods, or you get together with a few of your friends, you all talk about it. There's power in numbers, strength in numbers. I can't say it enough. I mean, I'm a broken record and I'm proud to be one. You got to get a handle on this because you're not hearing the true stories of what's going on behind the scenes with kids.
This is a link. This is a link to your YouTube channel. Let me throw some things in there. What do you think about the riots in France?
Well, France is not our country, but I'm going to tell you why I'm concerned about the riots in France. I see it as a precursor to what will come to the United States. Now, I thought for sure, living in New York City with the Daniel Penny case, the Marine who very heroically, in my opinion, on a subway fairly recently, stopped a crazy person from harassing all the other people on the train, okay? Now, a lot of those people are standing up for him in his defense, but you're not going to see them in the media. You're not going to hear about them. I find it somewhat silenced. We're not hearing from any of them. I did hear a few stories. They were so thankful that he stepped in. Now, this person,
who said, by the way, I don't care if you kill me. I don't care if what you do to me or something. He basically was threatening people and said, I don't care if you, and...
Well, he was threatening, give me food, give me money, kill me. Just horrific. We're not hearing that part of the story that we know about. Anyway, unfortunately, he died. And, of course, the ex-Marine, Daniel Penny, was apprehended. First, they let him go. And then because what shall we call them? The few that you would think there are millions ruling everything, everybody, you are all aware that most people are like you, like us, across the country. They're not like these crazed people demanding all this restorative justice, and that just doesn't exist. The media, of course, pushes that. Print pushes that to a certain extent, but people are like you and me, right? So they bring him back in and arrest Daniel Penny, or charge him. You're the lawyer, so they charged him. And I guess it's going to trial soon, something. But here's why I'm concerned. I thought for sure when that happened, it's very tense here in New York City. I thought there would be, I call it, the George Floyd effect. I thought with that Daniel Penny, before they were going to charge him the second time, they let him go the first time, that we would have. Now, we had one little disturbance, but I was sure it was going to happen. Now, they quelled that. That got squashed. I think now France, here's two reasons why I'm concerned. Precursor to, they're going to hold back everything in the United States until election time. And then we're going to see riots in the streets because they will do anything. We have to see how all this plays out, certainly in the next couple of months even, between if there are any debates, if who's going to be nominated to the different parties. I think they're holding back. Don't you think that? It's just too quiet here.
It's
they're
also going to the Netherlands as well.
But here's why I'm concerned.
We're becoming habituated to violence.
That's what I'm saying. It's more of a global thought. It's coming here, but they told them, hold down for now. We're going to wait for the big one. And I think the big one is election time. They'll do anything to disturb the upcoming election. But the second reason I think it's important is because our children, again, if they're 25, if they're 15, they are online. They are seeing these violent images. They are seeing these fires. They are seeing disruption. They are seeing chaos. Therefore, it is up to us to step in and open the conversation, open the discussion. Let's talk about it. What have you seen? And because kids are scared coming out of the last few years, and I don't even want to say that name of anything, between masks, you can't go outside. Now we got smoke. New York City's full of smoke. They said,
and aphids and bugs.
And they got those bugs. And just talking about those bugs, I'm itchy. But they're like the other day in New York City, they said the pools are closed, the public pools. Don't bring your kids to playgrounds. Stay in the house. Don't go outside. So again, our kids, all of this is thrown at them. And then if they go online and they see fires and people shooting at police, their little minds can't handle all of this. So we have to talk about what's happening in France. Age appropriate. We don't have to go into, over explaining, but reassure them everything's okay. You're safe with me. That kind of thing. So it's kind of global now that we have to talk to our kids about certain issues that pop up.
I would not be surprised if there are not choreographed, planned, strategic implements of almost synchronized choreography ready to go for the next. There will be another person, black, white, someone, will be shot by the police. I don't know when, don't know where, don't know the circumstance, doesn't matter. It will happen. And you will be astounded at how fast not only it occurs, but how the media will reflect it and how it'll be George Floyd again. And we are becoming habituated to it. And what happens is whenever there is a disruption in order, no matter who does it, no matter who's responsible, the shadow government, the deep state, whoever you want to call it, they benefit tremendously from it. So remember, the same thing goes for groups like Otpor. Remember, during Occupy Wall Street, there are organizations around the world ready to go. Look at Maidan. Look at what happened in Ukraine. There are groups that will show you how to organize, how to meet, how to group, how to have a theme song, how to use the sound of implements for rhythms. They have signs. It's like it's a party city for rioters. Now, next subject. We were listening to this during our significant cruise in the Yugo, a stretch.
Right.
AI, AGI, we were listening to everybody, mostly was Max Tegmark, who I think is the most interesting. Do you think people have any idea of what AI and AGI represent?
Absolutely not. And I don't even know how to answer it because I don't even have a full understanding. The only thing I know, and he actually said later in that lecture we were listening to, we have not done a good enough job with, and I say this in quotes, everybody, social media. When I say we, I actually mean big tech, I mean the government, our legislators, law enforcement have not done a good enough job protecting people. How the heck are they going to address AI, AGI, artificial general intelligence, or just artificial intelligence? They can't. And every expert will say the same thing. We don't know. And they also always say where there's good, and there is some good, a lot of good coming out, different medical things, which would be very useful. There's a bad side. There's always bad actors. I find it completely frightening. I don't understand. Nobody learned anything from the internet. What's going on? Again, my mind goes to more of the big tech, more of the money to be made. How are we going to fight this? We can't. And how are we going to deal with our children with all of this? I find it completely frightening. When they tell us it's coming, what do I always say to you? It's here. They just haven't fully launched it upon us yet. So I don't know. They launched it a few months ago with the cute Chat GPT, and now all of a sudden it's Chat GPT 4, but now they're talking about it multiplying itself and taking over brains and bodies and completely frightening. But
Well,
people confuse it with cute robots. They're not
They have
understanding
no idea what it is.
But we don't even have a full understanding of what it is. So I'm not understanding. What I do understand, and I'm quoting from this lecture we were listening to, that we are at a fork in the road right now. Do you remember that part? You were saying
yeah.
we're at a fork in the road right now, and this is the first kind of human change, what will happen in 100,000 years. You remember he was saying that? And I do believe that. But again, while everybody's busy talking about perhaps trans stuff, fighting over elections, this is all being done behind the scenes, and you will wake up one day, I fully believe this will be launched upon you, and none of us will know.
You will never know when it's been launched. That's the thing. It doesn't exist in a place. You don't go someplace. You don't say, oh, look, the AI, AGI bots are here. It doesn't work like that. It is an artificial intelligence, a spirit. Think of it as a possession. Think of it as evil. Think of it as God or angels or whatever this is, inhabiting systems. And once it's there, there's no way to stop it. It's gone. Imagine this. Somebody said it's like creating an 800-pound gorilla and giving it a 300 IQ. And it can create itself like that. And it takes off. You're done. You can't call it back. That's the thing.
Well, let me ask you. Why do you think they want this? Seriously.
Because it was already, it was inevitable.
But it's just because I can't figure out, basically some people say destroying mankind could be in the future. It's just for power and to make money, I guess. It's always follow the money. Why?
But here's one thing which is very interesting. And don't answer the question because I didn't think about this. When we ask society and science to stop this, to stop it in their tracks, can you ever remember when science stopped something and said, all right, that's it, that's enough? Because I never thought about this. And not only did we stop it, China stopped it, everybody stopped it. And it would have made billions and billions. But everybody said no. What was it? Now, remember, ChatGPT is merely one little iteration of this. And GPT-4 is the next one. But we'll get to this. But what was the only time? Because people say, it's never been done. Yes, it has been done. It was done, and I never thought about it until today. When was it? Think about it. When everybody said, all right, stop, and they stopped everything. What was it? Let's see if any. It takes a while for this to catch up. Let's say Hydra, thank you. I don't know what. Human cloning, thank you very much. That was fast. Human cloning. Everybody stopped.
Remember Dolly the
sheep.
The sheep.
And it died. Or you can't.
Eventually it died.
Human cloning, they stopped. In fact, there was the only person who was ever successful with this was a guy in China, and now he's in jail. Because even they said, oh, no, you don't do this. So it is possible. It is possible for some alarm button to go off. All right, let's go to something else.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis slamming LGBTQIA.
Well, I don't know.
Did he really do that?
It warrants research. A lot of people love Ron DeSantis. Everybody loves the state pretty much.
Any DeSantis fans here?
A lot of people.
Who's a DeSantis fan?
There are a lot of them.
I'm talking about here.
I understand. But
Are
I'm
you a
saying,
DeSantis fan? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Let's get an idea of what we're talking about. Let's get an idea of the room.
People love the state of Florida and what's going on there, as witnessed by many people when that certain event hit in New York. How many people we know all took off, left for Florida? So many that
they're coming back.
No, but so many that are the tax revenue in New York State dropped just about 20%. It was just announced on Friday because so many people went to Florida. Of course, Florida went up, obviously, because all the people moved there. And also California lost a lot of tax revenue because they moved, Tennessee and North Carolina and Florida. But I wish Ron DeSantis, he's got a young family. His wife could be doing or will be doing.
You seeing the numbers here? A lot of 2s, a lot of no's.
I just...
He's not ready.
Here's the thing.
He's not ready yet.
Here's the thing. We need a warrior, everybody. We need a warrior. Don't get me started. Now I'm going to cut loose a little bit, all right?
Hold on 1 second. We just want to say, our friend R. Heath, thank you so much. Everyone should see The Sound of Freedom this week.
Yes.
What is that? Give us an appraisal. And thank you, by the way. That's for you, R. Heath.
The Sound of Freedom, it opens officially on the 4th of July. And it is a movie from Angel Studios. And it is the life of Tim Ballard, who created Operation Underground Railroad, which is now a nonprofit. And Operation Underground Railroad, Tim was a Navy SEAL, among other things, would go into other countries, rescue kids, jump out of helicopters, infiltrate the whole business. This is a Hollywood portrayal of his life.
Is this the Mel Gibson?
No. Mel Gibson is pushing it. He and Tim are friends.
What about Caviezel? What's that one?
Well, I'm getting to
Okay, I'm
that.
sorry. I'm confused.
Sound of Freedom. It's starring Jim Caviezel.
Okay.
Amira Sorvino. But I want everybody to understand, it is based on the life of Tim Ballard, Operation Underground Railroad. And the Warriors is partnered with Operation Underground Railroad. I'm going to leave it at that. But it's a Hollywood portrayal.
What does that mean?
That means
you qualify that.
And Operation Underground Railroad will tell you this themselves. They take liberty with certain things.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
Okay.
It is focused in other countries.
That bothers you, doesn't it?
I'm not going to say it bothers me because I want all children all around the world to be safe and to be taken out of these horrific situations. However, we have to start at home. So when I began working with Operation Underground Railroad, I'm just going to say this fairly recently, one of my discussions was, I want you to do more work in the United States. And that is exactly now what they're going to be doing. A lot more work because we have this need right here at home in the United States. Therefore, the Warriors has now partnered up with them. We have a lot of new initiatives that'll be announced after Labor Day going forward. But everybody should get out, should support this movie. They have a program going where you can buy a ticket and then a ticket is issued for free. Anytime we can talk about this subject matter, anytime we can say a Hollywood studio, anytime we can, interview a Amira Sorvino or a Jim Caviezel, it's all good. So everybody, you can get a free ticket. If you can't afford, just go. It's playing all over the country. Let's make it the #1 movie. There are previews of it beginning tomorrow, I believe, July 3rd. officially opens on the 4th. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it, but let's keep pushing it. Let's keep talking about it because it's the subject matter. And let's keep supporting, a Tim Ballard, who, by the way, took tremendous, how should I word this? Tim Ballard was on the Human Trafficking Commission with President Trump. And he took a lot of flack for that, Tim Ballard.
R. Heath, again, thank you again for your kindness. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
R. Heath says, I agree with you, but at least this movie shines a light.
That's what I'm saying.
Let
me finish my Tim Ballard.
Okay.
I just want everybody to be very supportive of Tim Ballard and Operation Underground Railroad because he did, like many of us, take tremendous hits being anywhere,
near Trump.
Now, I want to just explain that Donald Trump, and I've said this often, and to your listeners, and he was the only one, he put his daughter in charge of Human Trafficking Division in the White House. We're going to work on this. We're going to give funding. We're going to give resources to groups that have never been given, tribal nations. We are going to give them what they need to start addressing this. There was so much tremendous work done nobody ever heard about, nobody ever addressed, and that is the truth. A lot of good for human trafficking happened during those 4 years, and I will always stand up. I will always say that. I will always be proud to say I was a part of that. And so Sound of Freedom, I urge all of you, talk about it,
now,
spread the word.
Help me with this. Mel Gibson is not directly a part. He's just supporting this. This is not a Mel Gibson film.
Mel Gibson is now in discussions with Tim Ballard and some others to perhaps do a documentary series now about trafficking.
Good.
And we're hoping that will be in the United States. Okay.
There was also
About
remember
kids
the
in the
movie
United
we
States.
saw with Sylvester Stallone about trafficking. Remember that? That we saw that at that Times Square, that horrible theater. But that was good. And also we saw that
was
wonderful.
a while ago, though.
Remember the one we saw from what was it? Was it not Indian? It was a foreign.
No, that's hardcore.
Oh, that's
Over in Queens when I took you?
Yeah.
To the juice bar?
Wow, yes.
I don't think we can talk about that. But that's a hardcore. And again, that was India, right?
India, right.
We want to focus now on the United States. So hopefully, the hope is, I'm going to share, okay? Sound of Freedom. Tremendous movement for the public to get behind. Again, if you can't afford a ticket, go online, find the theater near you. You can get a free ticket. Those who want to be generous and support all of this, you can buy a ticket, and then one is put into the pot, so to say, for somebody who needs a free ticket. Okay? Therefore, we want everybody to see this movie. But the hope is now that Mel Gibson will get behind, do this docu-series he's talking about. Again, more media awareness, but not just, look, it's all good. Not just a child is missing. Or not just, and I say this with all due respect, a Gabby Petito is missing. You have to know the true face of what's going on behind the scenes, the horror of this all. The 0 to 2-year-olds being sold, the farms where they're raising children, and then those children, for the purpose of trafficking when they're a little bit older. And I don't want to get into that now, but this could be spearheading a lot of good things that are coming. And that's what I'll say. But everybody sees
about
Sound of
this?
Freedom. Absolutely.
Republicans, are they organizing enough? Do you think they've got their stuff together? Do you think they are putting together a bulwark for...
Look, I'm sorry, everybody. I admire those, I don't know what they're called, Democrats. I don't know what that group is called. Let me tell you, I admire them. They stay on message no matter what. They stick together no matter what. They shoot those mouths off no matter what. They tell you lies to your face and they keep going. They don't even look back. So what I'm suggesting...
They go door to door,
they
knock on doors, they do stuff. And what do Republicans do? They watch Fox News or The Five.
Well, okay, every single day I'm asking, why don't the Republicans just replicate this? And I'm not suggesting lying and shooting your mouth off, but when you have facts and truth on your side, facts and truths, everybody, why can't you be more aggressive? Again, what do I say to you all the time? This is a culture shift in 2023. Time for a new plan. We're behind here. So get out there. And I'm also sick and tired. We work on many child issues with the federal government. They are bipartisan. That means no political party, everybody. And they make a lot of noise, the Jim Jordans, the Josh Hawleys. They do a lot of noise, a lot of stuff. I'm including Marsha Blackburn in all of this. We get to the finish line, and we can't get the child protection legislation over that finish line. And so then I'll say, okay, well, we got to keep pounding away. Every single day we have to talk about it, tweet about it, nonstop. And they don't, and they drop the ball. So I'm very frustrated they're not stepping up more. It's like a lot of different kind of Republican parties floating around. People, even if it killed them, they need to come together and have one message, and every single one of them. It's like you get your sheet in the morning, like they used to give out at CNN. You're going to do this, this, and this, and this, today. That's what they need, and they're not doing it. You got this one doing this one doing that. It's a mess. So I'm disappointed in that, and I keep talking about it and keep suggesting things, but falling on deaf ears so far.
I'm seeing a lot of folks saying that France has canceled the internet. Not seeing that. And by the way, when you say France is burning, if I might suggest, not sounding celebratory, I mean, I don't want to see this. This is
I don't want to see this.
But sometimes people, and there is something that's happening right now, and we see it sometimes. Social media, in particular, build up the scrum. The scrum builds up the crowd. The crowd then turns into the mob, and the mob takes on its own organic structure. It's called accocracy, a mob rule. And the next thing you know, this momentum picks up, and people are cheering, in essence, that France is burning, when in fact they're trying to get the attention of people. Hey, look at me, this is what I'm saying. This is the end, or the attempt to end all civilization and all order. Now, I know that sounds like much, but I don't know what Klaus Schwab and everybody else has to say. And what about the Great Reset people don't understand? Let's change it a little bit. How about this week, for the first time, geoengineering at least made mainstream news after how many years have I been to the point of driving people?
Since 9/11, maybe after 9/11.
I've been screaming, and people thinking, this guy keeps talking about his chemtrails. And I said, it's not the chemtrail. And I was saying it, and now guess what? There it is. It's just like Bilderberg. Remember, they said, there's no Bilderberg.
Well,
and then all of a sudden they had their website was up. Yeah, there's a Bilderberg. Wait a minute, but you told me. Well, I know we said that, but we changed our mind.
Well, I'm seeing it in the sky. There's no denying, and there are different scientists and Dane Wigington. I mean, different people involved that have been. You've certainly been talking about it. They're controlling the weather, and then to have a little headline, a little buried headline, the current occupant of the White House. I can't really say his name, everybody. I just can't. I just say current occupant of the White House. I think I stole that from you, but that's what I say. A little headline, when was it? Friday, maybe, buried, that, we need to start controlling the weather so we can keep the globe cool, or something to that. It was some little headline buried somewhere. And in essence, China has been doing this for years, and we have to always know, and I know this from all my Chinese friends and contacts, whatever's happening in China, eventually we follow. And they've been doing it for years, so we're doing it now.
We have been saying this since this was from 1997. This is Secretary of Defense William Cohen. We all know this one. He says, I guess all of you scoffers... No, excuse me, that's not it. He said... That's not what I want. I want the statement. Here we go. Others are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts. And that's why this is so important. Now, this isn't Alex Jones. This isn't David Icke. 1997. Now, he's been saying this, and we've been talking about this. This is April the 28th. And what happens is I deal with people and I'm saying, yes, but he said this. They go, yeah, but. People do not like to hear us basically telling people what they should know. How about the new rules for Twitter? What's that about?
Well, I just want to say, though, going back to that for a second, one of these fires in Canada that they keep claiming is why we have a smoky New York City, or why they claim you have to stay in the house today because it's bad for your breathing, or they say pregnant women, this is poisonous to you. There was some statement they put out the other day, Kathy Hochul, governor, everybody, unfortunately, but
who
governor,
knew about this in advance.
About a week ago, she said, we had this, and then it went away, right? We had clear skies. We had that glowing orange effect a few weeks ago. That was very bizarre, okay? Streets were empty, very strange. That went away, looked okay. Then it came back. It came back, I don't know, last Wednesday. I started seeing it roll down the Hudson. And then they put out reports, pregnant women stay in the house. This could affect your baby. And very frightening information they're putting out again. Again, my concern is the kids hearing all of this. As far as Twitter, you know how I feel about that. Everything will eventually be behind a paywall. That is how they'll rein social media. Again, I put that in quotes, everybody, because I call it anti-social media, actually. They will rein it in by putting it behind a paywall, start getting rid of a lot of people, because people won't pay for it. But they're getting ready for the advent of AI. That is my opinion.
Can you trust Elon Musk?
Is that a question?
Yes.
Is somebody asking me?
I'm asking you.
I say no.
Of course not.
You
can't trust anybody. But he's better.
Well, I trust you.
But put it this way. He's better than Jack Dorsey.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know perhaps if he was put in this position to do all of this. In the meantime, it looks
kind of like a
like a work. That
what
term
about
I
his,
use a lot.
What about his number 2 gal? His gal Friday.
Yacarino?
Excuse me.
That's her
Kids
name.
watching.
That's her name.
Sorry.
That's her name. Well, I heard, but again, I don't have proof. But
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. She's clamping down on anybody talking about child predation issues. It's funny because when this Elon Musk took over and everybody was cheering him and a lot of people had their accounts reinstated. I want to remind everybody, a lot of people still haven't had their accounts reinstated. I'll just leave it at that. And people's numbers started spiking, and mine certainly all of a sudden, I started getting new followers. Let me tell you, in the last few weeks, nothing. Maybe 2 followers.
On Twitter, yeah. At
Twitter.
Lynn's Warriors,
No,
yes.
but maybe 2 followers going on 3 weeks now. And that's just virtually impossible. So I don't know what the deal is there. That's why it makes me more suspicious about Elon.
Okay. Here's a new one for you. What's upzoning? Dig this.
I've been talking about this for a long time. It's now finally coming out. Things have been happening across the country where the government can just come in, executive order. I'll use Governor Kathy Hochul as an example. Right now, I know in New York, the Tony town of East Hampton, where everybody flocks, a lot of celebs, a lot of people. Beautiful homes for the most part. They want to take their property. There's a lot of fighting going on there.
How do they do that?
Well, they say it's not. I'm trying to break it down and make it very simple. The zoning laws. So towns, cities have zoning laws. They're coming in and superseding those zoning laws, and they're not having the town meetings. They're not having the votes. They're just taking. They're taking the property. I know in California of different instances where people in their small backyards can now divide it up and build a little cabin back there, or just divide it, I don't know, put people on the property, with the goal being, now people will do things to make money, okay, certain people. Other people, the discussion is, you people live in a nice town, or you people have too much property, or you people, you're white privilege, or you people, there's been so much racism, we have to now divide it. We all have to live. You have to give some of yours.
Remember BLM said, we own this house. Remember the McCluskeys?
You could have a beautiful estate on East Hampton, and they want to build an 8-story apartment building on your property. And I'm not exaggerating. This is what they're going for. Now, we just had on some friends on my show, State of the Nation, in Norwalk, Connecticut, protesting this because this is what they're doing in Norwalk, Connecticut. They're going in and this is what they want to do. Just take people's land. They want to build things. Public has no say. You're not having any say. It's called upzoning. And everybody needs to know about this. They tried to do it in Far Hills, New Jersey. Actually, a couple of years ago it started. A lot of lawsuits. There's a lot of money in Far Hills. So when you have money...
Greenwich.
East Hampton, you have a lot of money. You can try to fight it. Greenwich, they're doing all kinds of things in that Greenwich.
But understand though, either they will change your zoning directly, or all of a sudden they say, this would be a nice place for some low-income housing. Right here to destroy it. Now,
to distribute.
Let me explain to you a couple of people
wealth.
that I know, and these are my favorites. These are a couple of people that I know. These are these phony baloney liberal types who think everything's terrific. Let me tell you one in particular. She and her husband live, I'm not going to name the city, but it's a big city. And she lives in a gated community with her Range Rovers and her foreign maid. And she's got her 2 kids in private school. And she loves her BLM sign and no hate spoken here and all this kind of jazz. And she says, well, I believe in, diversity and equity and all that. And they say, great. Why don't you move someplace else? Why do you live here? Oh, no. Would you mind if I I'm going to buy, because I'm telling you right now, somebody's going to say, you know what? We'll just buy this. Here, George Soros, here. I'm going to put 4 new, how many houses are for sale? Good. I'm going to put these families in there. How do you like that? You want diversity? What if your kids came home and married some diverse person? What if your kid, and by the way, let me tell you something what they're going to do. I think you and I were talking about this. What Harvard should do is to say, you know what? We don't even have any requirements anymore.
That's what I
Forget
say.
the application.
I say open the doors. Come on in, everybody.
We don't want any white people. Period. There's no application. We'll pick you. And also, hey, stupid kids with your college grants, you're all pissed off about that. You know where your money went? It went to Ukraine. So here's the best part. We have this. I gotta be careful. We know this family, and they're really big into hoity-toity collegiate sports, racket sports in this, and they spend so much money with little Muffy and the summers going to learn lacrosse or whatever the hell she is. If all of a sudden some guy whose name was Dave last year all of a sudden shows up and kicks little Muffy off of the Brown or the whatever lacrosse team, and not only that, moves a bunch of low-income, diverse people into their Tony-gated community, you want to watch some people upset? There's nothing funnier than a liberal, and I hate to use that term, but I will, who all of a sudden gets it shoved down their throat and up their keister by the very programs that they mindlessly advocated because it didn't apply to them. Hey, listen, Mrs. Morgan, whatever it is, do you mind if your daughter marries a son of a... Oh, wait a minute, hold it. No. You don't mind if we break up that bloodline, do you? They are all
But it's
talk.
always that way. They're the loudest mouths, but they're not going anywhere. They're putting all this out there, but they're all living fine behind their gates, behind, those are the ones destroying it for everybody else.
They don't want. They would go crazy if all of a sudden.
Exactly.
They have nothing.
But people do have to know about upzoning. We have to make people aware. Like Norwalk, they took to the streets. They're protesting.
But they don't want diversity. So you want me to? I'll fix it. Oh no. You want diversity? I'll fix it. I'll diversify your neighborhood. I'll diversify your community. It'll be so diverse you won't even recognize it anymore. And they would say because they're full of it. They have no interest in communicating, being with, conviviating, sharing. It's all a label. It's like the mask. Remember those people?
I know, but
hey,
aren't
we
people
got our
exhausted
shot.
From this already? We all.
I'm just getting started.
I know, but it's so.
What about Alex Soros?
Well, wait a minute. You can see through this. Everybody's on to these people now. It's like so paper thin, these plots they try to put over on everybody. As far as Alex Soros, 37 years old, his father, according to what they say, ceded the company to him, Open Society Foundation, and he cut 40% of the staff, and he did this because he wants to tighten it up, and he wants to concentrate on 3 areas only now. He wants to concentrate on abortion, gender, and elections. Now, they, of course, have been focused and concentrating and funding this, but now they're going to go really hardcore.
What does he want? More abortion? What does he want with abortion? Does he not have enough?
Look how they got almost 100 DAs across our country. Very smart plan, frankly. And that's something Republicans don't understand. What do? It's tough at the federal level, right, everybody? But you get in there at the community level. That's where you start building. And that's exactly what they've done. Look at New York City with Alvin Bragg. I think I can reveal this. I got a very important letter, part of our New Yorkers for the Equality Model, fighting this full decriminalization of the sex trade. Again, the demand is for children. We don't want pimping and brothels next door to you and trafficking to be legal. And that's what they want in New York State. To give you a little history, what I'm talking about. And we got a letter the other night. This is going full steam right now. They're going to really be going hard. Mayor Eric Adams, there used to be a human trafficking office in the administration. During de Blasio, that was changed to a gender equality, gender equity office, something like that. Now they're changing it to sex workers productivity office.
Wait a minute, what?
Yes.
In the mayor's office?
Yes. And
you mean hookers and
sex workers productivity? So how we can
wait a minute.
So how
what is their product?
So we can help them. We can pass this law of full decrim so they're not abused, so they have workers' rights. This is being pushed by so many women legislators. If you know the history of trafficking, it is mostly women and girls of color that are vulnerable, have nowhere to go, have no money, low income, no income. That is the true face in New York.
Let me explain this.
But let me just finish this thought, please. We received this emergency letter that Mayor Eric Adams' office now, we were offended as a group, New Yorkers for the Equality Model, that they keep referring in all of this in Albany, trickling down to Adams' office, children as sex workers. Children cannot be sex workers. Children cannot consent. They are normalizing. They want kids to be sex workers. This is what they're talking about. We fight that. Kids cannot be sex workers. This is a crime.
Consent.
Minors, okay? We get a letter back. I sent the letter to you that they are taking all of their wording and they are being the direction of this new sex workers productivity office is through Open Society Foundation, and they are going to be calling everybody sex workers, including children. This is horrific. This is a crime. Today's Sunday. I don't watch any news. This should be all over. Every news program, online, every program. People have to know what's going on. They want your kids to be sex workers. They want your kids in windows in Times Square. I am not exaggerating. Being sold for sex to strangers. This is what they're pushing for. People have to know about it because if it happens in New York, they consider New York the leader. It's coming to your town soon.
And look what's happening. The idea, first of all, if you want to go into a group of people, and by the way, you might ask yourself, how is it that people consent to this? How is it that people who are seemingly rational, can consent to this? One of the things that this goes back to B.F. Skinner, how you break people's phobias is called successive approximation. Whenever we want to introduce something, we always talk about habituation, conditioning, getting people used to something. You start off with little things. For example, it wasn't as widespread as they said, but there were little kids seeing these John Waters dystopian with these mammoth phalluses, these menschulate freaks coming in and sticking dollar bills. And these kids were looking at this, and that was step one. And people said, "Why are you?" They tried. What did they say? That you're trying to demonize LGBT. And by the way, many of our friends who have been entrenched in the actual LGB community since pre-Stonewall are saying, "We're not a part of this."
These freaks are saying, "Who are these?"
So they
freaks?
start with that. Okay. Next thing you know, little kids are learning in schools little stories about buggery and
they're handing them those books. They're forcing those books on them.
Again, did you mind that? No. They can learn this? Fine. Okay, good. Now, if sex work is a legitimate form of business, right? I mean, if it's like spot welding or small engine repair, why not have a farm team? Why not have, remember Junior Achievement? Why don't we have like the Little League for this? You think I'm kidding? You think I'm kidding? And what's happening is that I love these people, and frankly, don't get me, please, this is my opinion. I love all these religious types who say Satan and this. Well, it's like, why don't you get off your butt and do something about it? Quit talking about Satan. Call it Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub, evil, whatever it is. This is going on. And what do people do about it? Nothing. And why? Because they don't know anything. Because they don't read. Because if Greg Gutbucket on the 5 or Justin Impero, if they don't talk about it.
Well, they won't talk about this. And this is what people have to know. They won't talk about it.
It's
CNN won't talk about it. News Nation won't talk about it. MSDNC won't talk about it. I'm sitting here telling you the truth of what's happening. So while everybody's worried about those books, and you should be, and everybody's worried about the drag queens, this is happening, and it is again coming to your town.
I don't know if it is possible, but we need an education militia. We need to have groups of people, families who pool their resources, yank their kids out of schools, and have, in essence, a pod system where you have either retired teachers, PhD students. You pull them together and say, how much do you want to make a year for a decent salary? Kids will meet maybe 2 hours a day maximum. That's it. You don't have to overwhelm them with this.
Well, the rest is, we have some of that going on in New
Right.
York privately, arts, outside, gardening, because kids need all of that.
Let me stop for 1 second. Trina Thomas, Trina Thomas. Thank you so much, Trina.
Thank you.
Little hand.
No, but people have to
Reputation.
know this information. I'm not an alarmist. I'm not going to go for that low-hanging fruit that everybody's getting wrapped up in. Leave the trans thing for a while. Protect your own kids and grandkids and family members. These are the issues you have to know about, and we have to come together as a community, and we have to fight this. Because what are they doing? I can't believe in New York that mothers are backing this and saying this is healthy. I'm in shock that these legislators are going for this. And it's just, and I work, New Yorkers for the Equality Model, so everybody understands. I don't like these labels, but there are some hardcore liberal women you might consider on this that are against this.
Right.
This is horrific. We've got judges, we've got prosecutors, we've got psychologists, people working. They hate
And
this. They're,
hardcore
as are the warriors.
women's libbers from time gone by.
Going all the way back.
And by the way, let me just explain this one thing so that people don't understand this. See, years ago, a lot of people said, why is prostitution against the law? If a woman wants to do that, that's her right. That's the libertarian view. If she wants to make a few bucks instead of, working for, for Uber or whatever it is, shouldn't that be between a woman and okay, fine. And I used to, stupidly, without really thinking, say, yeah, that kind of makes sense, because I'm not sure if a woman should be basically arrested if she indeed consents to having someone pay her for an act that would be completely legal if for free. However, what I was missing was that there is no such thing as the pretty woman scenario. What this law does is these sex work legalization bills, they basically legalize being a pimp. So what the equality model says is we're only going to legalize it for the prostitute. Everybody else,
held accountable.
remember, because the pimp sits back. And let me also say one more thing. Are you ready for an Airbnb brothel in your home? Because remember, this is going to be legal. This is going to be legal. And here's the best part. In parts of Queens, we know, it is so open, so flagrant, and these women, all of them are owned by someone. Nobody, let me try being a freelance prostitute in New York City or any place for that matter, and let the pimping union get a hold of you. It ain't going to happen. No. It doesn't work.
The women I know who have tried to do that, the girls, they are beaten to a pulp. They are left for dead, and they're told, you're going to work for me now, because I'll just leave it at that.
What about
the
the
demand
marks?
is for children. I want everybody to know about it's our children, and they've been look what the kids see online. Look at these shows like Idol or The Idol, whatever that is right now that's on. Look at Big Mouth, which has been on several seasons. They say geared for, we use adult actors, but these are kids in high school on some of these shows, even though they might be 18 in real life. The kids are watching, but they're also letting these creepy adults watch kids that are constantly having sex and smoking and doing drugs, and they're in 10th grade and all kinds of weird stuff. So again, part of that habituation. But letting these drag queens go into the libraries, into the schools, do performances, in some churches even, whatever these places are, getting kids, just habituated. Again, it's that
What
word.
about the Montclair, the library?
Glenridge?
Glenridge.
I'm going to do a follow-up on that. Glenridge is a small little town in New Jersey, next door to Montclair, which is considered Montclair, North Jersey. Very liberal. You have a lot of people who from New York moved to Montclair when they had kids, and it's whatever. It's a very colorful town, nice town. But when Glenridge, a couple of moms at the very tiny Glenridge library a few months back asked about, they saw these books on display. I know exactly when it was. It was around Martin Luther King's birthday, so it was January, everybody. And they noticed there was nothing about Martin Luther King in the library in the kids section. It was a display with all of these books we don't like, okay? And two parents started this. They asked the librarian, who decides, very nicely, who decides on these books? We don't care for these books out on open display. There's nothing on Martin Luther King. There's just this and there was another display where you check out the books. So kids had to see it. All they did was ask, we'd like to talk to whoever chose these books. We'd like to talk to, and all hell broke loose. And they bussed all kinds of people in. And of course the media covered it. They were torturing the people who brought this up. They were ringing their doorbell. They were threatening them online. I understand a couple of people moved away. They were throwing eggs at their houses, everything that could be done.
See how organized they are?
For questioning. Well, they bust them in. And it was like close to 1,000 people showed up for a meeting. And they scared off the couple of people who they didn't want to ban books, even though it's called a book ban, everybody. People are not saying banning. They're questioning, what are these books? Why are they there? Let's vote on them. Let's decide. Who's deciding on these books?
Now, if there was Amos and Andy or some other, remember Little Black Sambo? Remember these movies? You can't have that. Let me explain to me one thing quick about being a kid. Well, kids don't get things. Years ago, I'll never forget this. True story. Little kid hears about sex is good, mommy and daddy sex is where babies come from, sex is good, okay, fine. Not just a little bit of kind of a cursory, and that's as far as it goes. All right, that the kid gets it, understands it. Somehow, and this was years ago before it really got bad, this kid sees either seduction or sex or something in a movie or something. And it was one of these, this ecstatic pain. And the kid comes up to his mother or father and says, does sex hurt? And the mother says, what? She has no idea because she didn't know this movie was on. Her goes, what are you talking about? Does it hurt? Are you okay? Is everything all right? He goes, what? And the mother comes in and sees this and has to explain to a kid, no, you see, that feels good. And the kid's looking at him like, what are you talking? How can... Now, if a kid can be that confused or temporarily confused about something, that can be one question. Imagine seeing some 7-foot, heavily phallused, metallic, John Waters divine freak sticking private parts in their face and saying, this is entertainment. This is okay. Oh, here's a...
But I want to know, who are those parents bringing the kids? We do not co-parent with the government. We do not take direction from the government with our children. There is parental autonomy. And also our children K through 12. Every grade is behind in reading and math.
What about our friend whose son is at a public school and he says, when did he have coming out day?
Fifth grade.
And he's
New York City public school. And I said to the mother, well, did you check it out? What's the curriculum? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
But the thing is,
but this is just being...
Wait. Right. But he was barely in puberty himself. I mean, he didn't even understand girls. He's not shaved. He has no idea. He's still playing with games. So anyway, he says, what's going on here? Coming out day. Coming out for what? For being gay. Am I gay? Is it? Who's gay? Is that good? Okay, I want to come out too. Do we come out? How do you explain why coming out to a child who barely understands puberty?
Okay, but I think the thing
so what happens is this kid, listen, there are enough screwed up people who go through regular life without this happening. They're on the conveyor belt to doom. And these are whole generations of kids confused by a bunch of parents who have no idea what the hell's going on because they're too busy.
But that's what I was going to get at. You have to know that this is happening. Again, I go back to K through 12. We have a horrible mental health crisis we don't talk about enough. Fentanyl with the drugs, the vaping, we don't talk about that enough. Now, we've got everybody behind in reading and math. We've got everybody online. It has to happen at home. Because if the schools are no protection, the government's no protection, while we fight for you at the Warriors, slowly chipping away at things, you have to take action. I can't explain it any better.
I think you did a great job. How about a big hand for her? Is she great or what? Is she great?
Oh, thank you.
But it's true. Now,
let's leave on a high note. We're going into 4th of July.
Wait a minute.
I'm celebrating.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Two good pieces of news you brought to me. One was the Elton John story, and also about dating and signs that people want to get back.
We should have some good news. First of all, some good news is when I saw Elton John, I said to you the other night in Glastonbury, which is their big festival, musical festival, and held on a farm, and it's all different musical acts, and he was the big,
draw.
Big draw.
Headliner.
Well, he's also, it's again his farewell tour again, but I think this is really it for him. Over 200,000. They stopped counting at 200,000, crowding onto the farm to see him. And I said to you, you know what? And I don't like crowds, but for people to come out, they want to hear music. They want to be in a crowd. They want to be together. They're not wearing the face diaper. Good for them. I think that's wonderful. Speed dating, which I pointed out to you, is making a comeback. Young people can't believe there was something even called speed dating. So now they're having little clubs forming.
Not Tinder and swiping and all that.
And they want to experience this, and they want to have that human connection. Okay? So I think that's a good sign. We also have various schools, something the Warriors will be working on, and it's up to individual schools and school districts. And this is where everybody has to step up if you have a child or a grandchild and talk about this. Get the phones out of the schools, at least for those 6 hours. However long they're in school during the day, the phones are down, okay? Whether they check them at the door, can't have phones. The school's doing it across the country. The kids are interacting. They're listening. They're learning more. We have the studies. They're talking to their friends at the cafeteria table. They're not just sitting next to them, texting. We've got to get at least, I had somebody fight with me and say, yeah, but they get out of school and use the phone. I said, but at least for that time they're in the school, they're focused on the teacher. They're focused on the other kids. Now, again, don't throw at me, well, the teacher's what they're teaching them. Leave that for a second. They're there, they're socializing, they're interacting, okay? So we've got to rally around, our school boards. Let's get the phones out of during the day. So there's all little things that people can do that you got to roll up your sleeves. You've got to start taking action.
You know what I wish we could somehow do? I swear to God, I wish we could bring back nuns, and I wish we could... The stuff that I thought was is so wonderful. We were so lucky. I just... leaving one thing, we have a friend of ours who's a 5th grade teacher, and because kids, number one, have never held a ball, this is, of course, our favorite Dollar Tree. When you hold a ball and you throw it and you learn about shapes and distance and parietal lobe and coordination and placement, you get kind of better coordinated. They can't write. They can't hold a pen. They can't read because they've been looking at machines and devices that blast them. Their eyes don't know how to track. And it's one thing after another. These kids are going to end up being social misfits who have been denied of some of the stuff which we look back. Somebody said at the age of 8 they were playing Legos. That was developmentally critical. You didn't even realize it at the time. It was critical what it did, because when you replace that, it was, think about this. These kids who are isolated, they are monastic, hermetic. They don't ever, there's no coordination. They don't play. They don't interact. They don't, I mean,
Well, it's up to us to
imagine
step
them
in.
running the country. In any event, isn't she great? Isn't
I
she
do want to
great?
put out a little. Thank you.
Almost fell.
As are you, husband.
That's true.
I do want to put a little warning out. The Barbie movie, that there's a lot of publicity. Please dig a little deeper. Please look into that. It may not be what you think it is, as things usually are these days. They're different from what we're led to believe. I'm just going to leave it at that. Everybody's anticipating Barbie in New York. We have the Barbie Cafe. We have displays. Women my age want to go see the Barbie movie. They want to bring their granddaughters. Kids want to go. And the trailers looked really cute. If any of you saw the trailers over the last,
So you're saying there's something more
6
to the
months
Barbie?
with there. She's rollerblading and she's with Ken driving her Barbie mobile. But now I know what's actually in the movie. So I'm giving you all some homework to dig a little deeper, look into that, and make sure before you go, you know what's in the movie.
I think that's it. By the way, here is Mrs. L's. Please.
I just want to say thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for listening, everybody. My passion and my calling is to educate each and every one of you, to share any kind of information, to sound the alarm that I couldn't really tell people a lot because people can't handle it. But understand, if you have devices in your homes, you have to step up.
Well, think about
this. You
this.
have a duty to protect the kids.
The very fact that we kept these folks for an hour, 1:11:11. I just saw that.
Wow.
1:11:11.
Is it that? I don't have my glasses on. It's over an hour already?
No, 1:11:11.
Yes, it's happening a lot.
You know what that is? We're going to
Happening a lot.
The fact, because you are special,
Thank you.
you're focused on this, and you represent an infinitesimally de minimis fraction of society. You are rara avis, a rare bird. You don't exist in the real world, but thank God.
And
What?
And don't let anybody hold you back from
Oh, yes.
being with family, from being with friends, for any of this for the 4th of July weekend. You celebrate, you get together.
Yes.
Everybody, if you know of somebody who doesn't have somebody, please reach out to them.
And one more thing.
Please, everybody help each other.
Celebrate. This is my celebrate.
Nice shirt.
Remember this.
I got my bandana
Our
on.
government sucks. It's the worst. If we had no government, it would be better.
We might be better.
But America, the United States
We
of
love
America,
We love our country.
that gave people the greatest music and acting in Silicon Valley, and us Americans, plain old Americans, not Biden and Trump and Washington. That's different. We are great, and I love that part. I love my country. I love my tradition. I love my nationalism. I'm saying it. We're not perfect. We made some horrible mistakes, but the people, us on our own, we're great. And if for no other reason, you know how much I love music. Oh my God. Can you imagine the world today without American music? No. So anyway, don't ever confuse government with country. We love our country. All right? And that's it. So you have a great and a glorious day. Thank you all so much. We'll be
Thank
back
you.
tomorrow.
Thanks,
and please,
everybody.
one more time, do us a favor, please. This is Mrs. L's. Sign up for her
Thank
for
you.
her YouTube channel, and she does it from the heart. And also linswarriors.org if you're interested in her. Lins Warriors, L-Y. I'm going to get out.
I named everything Lynn's Warrior so
That's
people
right.
could remember.
It's
But
amazing.
everybody needs to remember it's we the people. The people have the power.
Yes.
We're in control of our children. We have to step up. We have to block out all this noise and distraction.
There we go.
Take care of business at home and just be happy and
Good.
healthy. That's what I say.
All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious night. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same bad channel, 8 a.m. per usual. And don't forget, as we always end with this valedictory, this denouement, this sayonara, the monkey's dead, the show's over, sue ya.
Bye-bye.
Da-da. That was